Welcome to the Right Place podcast, where we learn with you how to build connections that matter, relationships that last, and businesses that thrive. My name is John Watson, and today I'm joined by former Olympian and world record holder in rowing, Ursula Grobler. Ursula is going to be our speaker at the upcoming CBN meeting later in July, and we're going to get to that in a bit. But Ursula, let's first talk about the Olympic Games. We're a few days away from that. And you were lucky to go to the Olympics in 2016. Just take me back to that time of your life and before you even got to the Olympics in Rio. What were those few weeks or those few days build up to getting to Rio and then arriving at the Olympic Village?
Suddenly this all comes flooding back. It seems so long ago, but it's also so real because it was such a special time in my life. I think there is still lots of anxiety and build up towards Rio because at least in my sport, in rowing, you qualify the year before, but you qualify the boat. You don't qualify the athletes. So it really means almost up to going to the games, you're still in selection of whether you're going to actually be in that boat that's going to Rio. So no, that it was very tense and competitive within our squad to be in that boat. But I think once the selections were made and you knew you were now going, everything just slots really into place with extreme focus. And then there are some celebratory things like going to the dinners that SASCOC hosts, and then you start getting your Olympic kit. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting to get the tracksuits that you'd walk on to the opening ceremony with. And all the gear of the Olympics, the Olympics is special because this is not about you. It's also about representing your country. So when you see that gear and it's a showcase of South Africa, you are fulfilling this thing that you've actually been working on for, in my case, over 10 years. Other athletes way more. Actually to say this is happening now, something that I've worked on for so long. It's unbelievable, and you're trying to be as much present as you can. And
I can imagine it is such a overwhelming experience. It's almost in disbelief that it's actually happening, and maybe you don't realize everything that's happening in the moment because it is overwhelming, and you need to focus on your preparation. You don't want to have too many distractions. You need to eat right. You need to sleep right, and all of that. Now, unfortunately, the 2016 uniform or the tracksuits made some headlines for the wrong reasons, but you were actually involved in the designing of your own rowing kit for that Olympic Games, which is incredibly special. I didn't think that was even possible. Tell me a bit more about that story.
We, with rowing, our kit is quite unique. It's called a unisuit or a tri-suit, as we call it in South Africa. And Roger, our coach and team lead at the time, just came to me, and I had a relationship with one of the top clothing manufacturers for rowing, JL. And together, Roger said to me, why don't let's design our own kit and that we can wear at the Olympics, and he'll get it approved, which we did. And it was very, very special to be designing the kit. And then when it arrived, again, just to feel that you're a part of something. And then ever since then, actually, the design that I did has carried through. The squad is still using it in various designs and combinations that they're doing today. So, oh yes, and I remember now, a big reason also why Roger really wanted the kit to be redesigned and stand out, because at the London Olympics, South Africa and Australia looked very similar, very, very similar. And so it was actually quite humorous that at the London Olympic Games, the lightweight men's 4 won gold, which was an incredible race. If you really want to feel inspired, go to YouTube and type in lightweight men's 4 London Olympic Games and watch South Africa win this race. But the funny thing is that the commentators kept thinking it was Australia because from the clothing, And so then suddenly they realize it's South Africa that wins. And then they say South Africa came from absolutely nowhere, which wasn't really true because they just kept thinking it was another country. So, so I remember that was a big mandate of the kit to make sure that we looked unique.
That's very funny. I mean, we've got so many colors in our national flag. I'm sure we can make it more unique, more South African. And luckily in 2021, the Tokyo Olympics, Veldskoen stepped in and brought their colorful valleys in. The rowing team for 2024, I mean, it's around the corner. All the seats settled, the teams have qualified, they're settled on the team. The people that are going, they know they're going, all of that's been sorted out.
Again, John, I can't speak for all the sports. I'm not too sure of the criteria leading up to that, but I know for rowing that, yes, the teams that are set, we've got a men's pair going, and very special to me, John Smith will be in that boat, and he has come through our rowing history. He was in that London 4 that took that medal, and so really excited that he's going to be at this Olympic Games as well. He was also at Tokyo. Incredible showing for him to have this longevity of a career.
Okay, excellent. And then on the women's side, how do you rate our chances this year?
So we didn't qualify our women's double, unfortunately. They went to late qualifiers. So the women's team is very young. So we've got a lot of juniors that have now come into the senior team, and they're looking strong and building up their bodies. And because rowing is such a powerful sport, not only do you need this incredible endurance, but you need this strength, and it takes a long time for your body to build and get used to that kind of output. I remember when I started rowing, and I started as a very late athlete. I think I was already 27, 28 when I first went to my training camp in Spain. And I remember when I arrived that a lot of the other rowers said to me, "You don't look like a rower," because they're used to at that time that you've developed your body. But I was actually at the very start of my career, and you start developing all that power and strength that you need. So to answer your question, go back to the women's team, they are in that phase. Even though they won't go to these games, it's, as you said, it's still they're going to the world champs, they're going to the other events, and by having that presence, they can help encourage and build up other women to join the sport. It was something that Kirsten and myself, who was my partner at Rio, we were very passionate about, and that's bringing the women up in all sports, not just in rowing, but we just saw the confidence that it gave us as female athletes, and that you could still be beautiful and a female but strong, and use sport as a way of building up your confidence and getting you ready for the world, for whatever it throws at you.
Ursula, you were an athlete and a triathlete before you started rowing, and you immediately had success in rowing, and you caught some of your competitors, you started winning competitions, you got to the Olympics. If you had started rowing at a younger age, do you think you might have had the opportunity to go to more Olympic Games?
Yes, it's definitely a little bit of we don't like to live our life in regret at all, because things happen, or I always say you're at the right time exactly when you need to be. But I would have loved to have had started rowing earlier. I would have loved to have gone through university rowing, because I only started rowing, like I said, when I was about 26, 27. I think all sports and anything that you really want to master at that level takes, to use that quote, 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell wrote about in his book. But you need 10 years or more to really master this. So that put me, at, what was I, 36 when I competed at the Rio Olympic Games. So already almost kind of at the top end of your career, starting to come down. And I would have really have loved to have been at more Olympic Games, had more opportunities, and like I said, experienced university rowing. That also looked super fun.
And your experience there at the Olympics. Now, 5th place is nothing to be sad about, but Take us back to that day, the day of the final. Tell us about the weather, how you were feeling going into that race. You'd made it to the final, your expectations, and how that day actually panned out.
I mean, being just to back that up a little bit, but I mean, being at the Olympic Village is unbelievable. I mean, we had these Jamaican sprinters like doing their practices in front of our building, and you are watching Djokovic warm up for his tennis match, like in the court just over there, and these eating halls that were like the size of two rugby fields, and you could get anything you wanted there. But in Rio, the thing that featured a lot was that acai kind of berries and stuff, and of course lots of Brazilian nuts that was freely available. So I mean that whole village and everything like that is so beautiful. So you have this experience, and then as you said earlier, you trying to get your focus right, keep things as you know them, to prepare for race day. So race day, I didn't sleep much that night. I mean, it's super exciting. We had done really well in our heat and semi-final. We'd won both. So there was no doubt in Kirsten and my mind that we were there for gold. We were in center lane at the Olympics, which means that you are targeted as a medal contender. I remember now, if I think about it, the warm up was a little bit shaky. We were just so nervous and overwhelmed with this whole experience. We kept rowing into the boys as we were practicing, and that's not really like us. But again, maybe the moment being so overwhelming, we couldn't. It was like hot and cold. It was windy and not, or rainy and not. So we also kept thinking, should we wear warmer clothing? Should we not? But then when we lined up at that start, we were all ready to go. And Kirsten and I had this very special thing we kept saying to each other on the first go. So in our racing preparation, we were always staggered started, and sometimes we didn't go on the first go. We had to go on certain other goes that the coaches gave. So we just always said to ourselves, this time on the first go, so you're lining up there and you've got all the boats next to you and they start doing this country countdown. You're waiting for that buzzer and it feels like forever. And then it's go. And then it's like all rush. And I think I, unfortunately, on that first stroke, just clipped my oar wrong. So we didn't get off to a solid start that we would have liked. Quickly, we were back in it and we were leading that charge to the 1,000 meter. And, I don't know, feeling strong, definitely anxious. This is a big race for us. But then, John, I don't know what happened. Like after that 1,000 meter, which is the halfway mark, because it's a 2K race, and then to the finish, I'm not sure what happened, but I can just tell you that Kirsten and I, we just didn't happen. It's as if we just didn't go. And I remember Kirsten telling me, we've got to go, because the boats were starting to come up on us. And we just put everything in there. But maybe later, as Kirsten said, maybe we just burnt all our cookies in the beginning and we didn't pace ourselves correctly, or maybe the moment just being so big for us. But then, it was a little bit for us disappointing to finish in that 5th place, see the boats come past us, because for us, that wasn't the goal. And it took me a long time to get out of that, because it was a definite, very hard place for us both actually to be in after the race, to realize that can't be the result. Like, please, can we just go back and redo that? That it can't end like that. I've also, gone through a bit of a journey with that and come to realize that athlete depression, not only because of our result, but just after such a big event, is really something that a lot of athletes struggle with. Again, I was thankful for a lot of support when I got back to Pretoria. I was seeing our sports psychologist. She also helped me a lot at the time to get through a lot of the things. At some stages, you're thinking, I just want a roof and a rope, because I can't. This is not the way this is supposed to end. But I've as time has passed, I've been able to to see the whole journey, and that the result was just a part of that journey. And all of the beautiful people that I've met along the way, the goals, the way that I pushed myself, the successes, the losses. And I've also learned to see now how failure is actually such a key part of success. And that is something that I now, if I look back, I needed to maybe work on a little bit more, because as rowing, you lose so much more than you win, and it's such a vital part of the process. So that's been, a massive, massive learning curve for me. And now, being a new mom, I'm actually so thankful that happened, because now the learning that I can pass on to him and other rowers or other athletes through this whole process has really been insightful and incredible for me.
No, that's amazing, Ursula. I can imagine it was a lot to take in. It is a high stress, high demand situation, and then it doesn't go your way, and you wish it over. You play it back in your head, and it's a lot. And it's okay to be down in the dumps. You've worked your whole life, especially you late in life. This is your one opportunity. And I just think back to recently, Roger Federer gave a commencement speech at one of the big universities in America, and he said he lost more points than people actually realize. And then people have analyzed his speech, and it comes out like he only won 54% of the points he played in tennis. Yet he's one of the greatest tennis players of all time, won all these trophies and everything. So the margin is just 4%. And you're now saying also about rowing, you depend on the equipment and the weather conditions and the current and the stream, and there's a million things that can go wrong. So to win is a minor miracle of things just aligning, and it maybe just wasn't meant to be. But the process of going through that and everything that you've learned is something that you can't live your life backwards, but you can learn from it, and you can maybe pass that knowledge on to the next generation, which I'm sure you've done, and also use that to empower yourself, inspire yourself to do some of the next things that you've embarked on.
I love that you've just said, look backwards, because you can't live backwards, because as rowers, we row backwards. I've often subsequently, joked with my husband when we're running or something, then I talk about, I'm a rower. I go through things backwards. I don't need to see the finish line. I just need to cross it.
Exactly. Now, Ursula, you've had a long career in rowing, even though you started late. And maybe just putting the Olympics aside, you build these friendships with your own teammates and maybe some people that you've met from other countries. But now these are the people that you want to beat during the race, but then during your trials or during your training sessions or warm-up sessions, there's friendship. So you almost need to balance this camaraderie and competitiveness. How did you find that thing during your own career?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And I'm just flooded again with lots of feelings and emotions with that, because as you said, especially with Kirsten, who I basically lived with her for 3 years of training for the Olympics, because we were all on training camps together and often sharing the same space. And we're using each other to push our achievements. So on Mondays, we always had this kind of a trial, or if you can call it that, on the rowing machine. And if she would win at the trial on Monday, she'd be happy and I'd be really down in the dumps. And if I won, then I'd be like on cloud 9 and she'd be a bit grumpy. So, we always wanted to win. But then we had to also step back and realize that we need each other in the boat to win. And the same also with competitors. I developed some very good friendships, particularly with a Swiss rower, and we are racing each other in the race, and all I can think about is getting my boat in front of hers. But afterwards, just talking about, wow, that was such an incredible race. And there was a movie, I'm trying to think now, but he spoke about how he uses his competitors to help him be better, and they also know that. And then it's a shared camaraderie in a way. And he said, if you see it in that way, it's actually quite, it's a very good way to look at it, other than just looking at, well, I'm just going to stomp on you and push you down so that I can be up here. You always want to know that you're competing against someone who's also going for it and also at their best. So actually, like, in a way, if you help them to be at their best, they're going to help you to be at their best. And it's again, that is, and I think that could apply for all of life. Helping each other to be at our best means that you're going to be at your best, instead of thinking, man, I wish that person would just go away, or I hope they fall and break their leg, because that type of thing is actually not helpful as an athlete, and I think as a community as a whole.
No, that's very true what you say. I mean, there's this great quote that I quote all day long, which is, competition happens at the bottom. Those at the top are collaborating. And iron sharpens iron. And I want the people around me to do well. The better they do, the better I can do. You don't want to be surrounded by people that bring you down. You want that competitiveness. You want to see the look in their eye, because that gets your look in your eye going. And I mean, I play a bit of golf, and my best rounds of golf have been when I've played with very good players that are way better than me. They're sharper, they're more in the zone, and then that forces me to get in the zone. If you pair me with very average golfers, which sometimes happens, my game is sometimes terrible because the timing is off, you wait long, you're looking for the ball in the bushes, all that, and you just have a rubbish day because you're just not in the zone. So iron sharpens iron, and I think that's a wonderful testament to the camaraderie of the sport. Sport is an amazing unifier of people and connects people and brings people together. And it can also then show you how other people are. You can learn from them. You can see how they approach things. And no one has it all figured out. So I think being in that cauldron of competitiveness, you build these friendships, and it's a competitive rivalry, it's a competitive friendship. But I mean, after the game, after the rowing session or the training session, you have a drink, you sit down, you talk about life, and you make that deeper connection.
Exactly. And this really, I mean, is very like special kind of conversations, because you both just set out on a shared journey, and you've helped each other in a way to achieve those goals.
Absolutely. Now, rowers obviously have to balance in a boat, and it's something that I've tried once or twice, and I've ended up with my head under the water. So you've got naturally good balance. How have you managed to balance your career aspirations, becoming a mother, getting married, and now embarking on a normal, let's call it 9-to-5 career? How has that process and that journey been for you so far?
I'm not going to lie, it's tough, just simply because when you set out on a career like this, there is no balance. It's very, very focused, and it's all in, and everything else kind of goes to the wayside. Roger always used to speak about, he doesn't want to call it sacrifices because it's the choice you make, but I can't tell you how many big events, family weddings, parties, things I've missed because I have training the next day and it's a big day and I can't afford to have a late night or something like that, so these are the choices that you make, but it does make that it's maybe not as balanced as other people would see life. And so now coming into more of a career, it was definitely tough at first because I often felt a little bit like an alien because I've lived a very different life. And also you're in a environment with these other athletes who are all striving for something so big, something so purposeful. And unfortunately, when I came and started working, you're amongst a lot of people who don't yet know what they want. Their purpose is not so clear. So it's a little strange to be in that environment and to be in an environment where a lot of people are happy with less or just the minimum or just getting by. Where again in rowing, there was none of that. I mean, you are always striving for the absolute best. So that was a bit of an adjustment for me in the beginning to kind of manage those different feelings and expectations, at least in the workforce. And maybe still something I'm working on. I'll be honest. And then, I mean, in terms of being a mom, that's something on another side. But wow, how magic to have this little being actually start teaching you things. And when I think about my whole journey and struggling with after the Olympics, I was stuck in kind of a same conversation over in my head of this race and how it didn't work out, and then I was struggling to get a job and position myself in a new area, and essentially I'm going to start a career as a novice, as a junior, because and you've come from this elite world of rowing, and suddenly you have to start as a novice, and that it was tough. But then when my son was born, he was really helping me to have new conversations in my head, because he's seeing the world through such different ways, and he started teaching me. It's not about me teaching him. He showed me the beauty of really the little things, and how much they count, and connection and love in a whole new way. So that was a beautiful transition for me, also to help cope with what had happened.
That's excellent, Ursula. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that you said you're still in this process. You're still young. You got a young son. You got a career that's progressing, and you don't have it all figured out yet. And that's 100% fine. But you can fall back on some of the learnings from your competitive career, apply that to your life, figure things out, and eventually you'll find your right place for now. And I just want to transition to the talk that you're going to be giving at the Clara Business Network, end of July. Leading with Love and Positioning Yourself to Win is the title of your talk. What mindset or attitude do I need if I'm to start leading with love? And is it an approach for my professional career, my personal life, or everything that I approach?
I think it's both, right? And maybe that's why when people talk about work-life balance, sometimes I struggle with that, because to me, if you do the thing you love, you don't need a work-life balance. Maybe it's setting a little bit of priorities on how much time do I spend on work and how much time do I spend at home. But leading with love, whether you do it in your career or your office, or whether you do it at home, I think it applies to both. And that's what I, want to bring across, is that finding purpose through something like rowing carries through in how you approach so much of the things you do. And whether you go out and find new purpose through a career, and you bring in those elements of, like I said, love, or the striving to be the best that you can be. And I know that when I say striving to be the best, it's such a cliche term, because it means that something is the best. It's and if you're underneath that, then you're not. And it's not always like that, because the journey is actually the process of being the best. It's not this end goal. And that is something that's also taken me a while to understand, that end result of rowing was not me being my best or not. It was me constantly striving for that. That is, now that I've come to understand that is what it means to find your purpose, to keep striving towards that. And always with an element of love. I mean, little things like when I come to practice in the morning and I pick up my oars and I feel this carbon in between my hands as I'm carrying the blades or the oars down to the jetty, and you're putting them down next to the water. Just that simple act, I loved that. I loved doing that. It didn't matter if it was a Sunday, it didn't matter if it was my birthday. And so finding those elements of love in what you do is something that I want to remind people of. I don't think that they don't know it. Maybe they're not practicing it, and that's what a big part of my talk is about.
It reminds me of a video clip I saw recently when Jimmy Carr, the comedian, was on the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett.
Yes.
And he
I love
says,
that guy. I love that guy.
no, he's excellent. He's excellent. And Jimmy said, it's not the journey or the destination, it's who you become. So it's not, I'm on this journey, it's all about the journey, or it's all about the destination or getting the medal. It's about the person you become. It's the process of changing yourself by self-discipline, learning, showing up, being there for others, leading with love, positioning yourself to win. It's all of that. And it's the person that you become through this. And obviously, you were a certain person before you started rowing. You've gone through this rowing journey, and now you are a different person because of everything that you went through. And now you can apply that to this new phase of your life and make better decisions, help other people make better decisions, and maybe have a even greater impact on the world because of the journey that you went through and the person that you became.
Right, exactly. Because we really are storytelling beings, again, in our technology world and all the wonderful things that AI is offering us. It's also remembering how much storytelling moves us forward. And sharing our stories, sharing these journeys is still such a part of our life. Sometimes, again, that confidence, right? Well, who am I? Like, or maybe that imposter syndrome. Who am I? Like, I didn't win a medal, so why listen to my story? Um, but it's someone told me a story. In my life, it was Zola Budd. I mean, I was young enough but yet old enough to remember watching her run and being inspired and thinking, there's something here that's very magic for me. And that inspiration, look how it moved me and my journey. And you never know when you could possibly be that for someone else and where they can take not only their life, but maybe our world. And now as a mom, now I look at our life also in terms of what is this world going to be like for my son when he's older? And maybe again, just bringing it all together. If I can help everyone to live in a more purposeful or loving way, or in a way that they're pushing themselves for a better world, then that's only going to be so much better for my son, and for all our children. Don't you want to live in a world where you've inspired other people, which will affect your children to be in a better working world?
No, I 100% agree with you. I think if you keep that front and center, you're going to make good decisions. You're going to make good decisions about what you do, the choices that you make, what you say yes to, what you say no to, because your foundation is my children, my legacy, the things that I want to leave behind, because I'm only here for a short amount of time. Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. Now, you mentioned AI, and I'm only going to ask you one AI question. Where should we eventually draw the line with AI? We can't let it do everything, and we can't let AI run everything. And maybe it's too soon to know where that line is, but where do you think we will eventually have to draw the line with AI?
I mean, AI ethics is huge right now. I mean, it is a big thing. And if you watch some of the scary stuff that they are speaking about, voice recognition, and how the voice of your child can call you and say, I'm in trouble, please can you send me money? And you think it's your child, and then you send all this money, and it's, that kind of stuff is super scary. With anything that we bring out for good, there's always going to be some elements of how they're going to use it for bad. So I think, we've come with this type of balance that we have to all make, as you said, with these decisions for histories. So now with AI, just really digging into our ethics, like we speak about putting love at the base of AI. I mean, what does that look like? If you think about it for any person who's developing anything new. And often, a lot of technologies are meant to improve our world, and then they don't. But the technologists who developed it, they didn't know that at first. But then it is just, again, asking for that ethics and that responsibility and ownership that extreme ownership. Take it upon yourself then to correct it if you see something that's wrong. Don't let it be. But that's very much my personality. I'm very much of, if it has to be, it's up to me. So dig in there and help as much as you can. Where I have seen with other people, they are trusting that the authorities and big companies will handle it. And I suppose maybe it's a little bit of both. We really need everyone to be thinking about these things of maybe how can I put love at the base of AI.
I think it's to make it more human and not just focus on the robots and the AI and the technology, but bring it back to our core values. And I mean, the cornerstone of existence is, or one of them is definitely love. And to bring that back and say, okay, through this lens, is this right? Is this good for us? Is this a good direction we're going in?
The future is there. It's just not evenly distributed. So I think it's just a matter of us taking the good of the technology, but then constantly just, as you said, making sure it keeps up with ethics, it keeps up with our values of love, as you've said, and keeps our humanity front and center.
Excellent. Now, Ursula, you've recently joined Pitch 121. I hope I'm saying that right, or Pitch 121,
Yes.
as an account manager. You've been a very creative person, and this is something we haven't really touched on. You've been designing and graphic designing and making T-shirts and design and websites and all that type of stuff. How do you bring that creativity and your sporting legacy to a company like Pitch 121? And how does that give you the tools required to support your clients and help them achieve their goals?
The account management work is also very creative. I mean, you're constantly solving these problems from your accounts, and every client, they want something maybe a little different, or they look at their needs, and marketing has also become, I mean, quite rich and complicated. And I don't mean complicated in a bad way, just meaning that people want more, again, of the human touch. But they want to use the tools that are available to make everything very efficient. So it's how to balance those two worlds. And that's kind of what I enjoy playing with a lot at my company. And then the thing that I love the most is the relationship building, whether it's with clients or even amongst my coworkers, or and we use LinkedIn as our main tool for kind of our social selling and social relationship building, and then how to use this tool to also have conversations that matter, that lead to a deeper connection. So that's been also very creative and very, very fun for me to be a part of.
Your life journey has been extraordinary. From a young age up until today, you've had a lot of incredible experiences, highs and lows. I love your "what's important now," the win analogy. What is important to Ursula in 2024?
I think I wrote that down actually as I approach 2024. Not that I believe in New Year's resolutions, but it definitely helps to have a compass or a North Star or something to kind of check in with yourself when you are trying to make decisions. But I think for my win right now, definitely being available to enjoy the things that are happening to me, to have that space. I really like that thing, something in between when something happens and your reply, in between there's actually a space, and finding more of this space in my life, because you don't want to be too reactive, but you don't want to be too passive. So just finding that space in between whatever happened and my reaction, and that's the type of presence that I've wanted to focus on a little bit more for this year. And hopefully through that way, I can also just start crafting a little bit more of my new purpose, or and also as my son, he's getting older, and you can suddenly see like things are just developing so quickly, but then having that space to enjoy those moments.
I absolutely love that analogy. I think the world is designed today to distract you, to take up our time, to waste our time. And if we let it, then it's going to do that. And we're just going to feel like we're on this constant roller coaster. We can't pay attention to everything, so we pay attention to nothing. And we just lose ourselves along the way. And we just live in this blurred life. So if we can find this space where we can appreciate the small things, like you said with your son, where we can take these moments out of the day and just be, just exist, just appreciate, just absorb the goodness around us. I think that is such a wonderful analogy, and to seek out these moments. And if we are, again, putting that front and center, and if that's our North Star, it will happen more often. If we're not aiming at anything, we're not going to hit anything. So if we say, look, I just want to find this moment, and it's those moments, these small moments, that are going to inspire you. It's going to give you clarity about any decisions that are on your mind.
Yes, and something else now, obviously, with me reading lots of bedtime stories and a little bit of Alice in Wonderland. She asks him in the beginning, which road should I go? Because there's these two paths that split. And then the Cheshire Cat says, well, where do you want to go? And then she said, well, I don't know. And then he said, well, then it doesn't matter what path you choose. So maybe a little bit of that. If you don't know where you want to go, then yes, any path won't matter. But then are you really heading in the direction that you would like? I'm very fascinated by this concept, design your life. Being a designer, imagine applying the most interesting design problem to your own life. How can you design your life, and not just like this story, go down any path, but actually know which path you want to go?
I've often said this, there's so much depth in these bedtime stories, Dr. Seuss, Enid Blyton, all those classics, and in a lot of children's movies as well. There's so many important life lessons that we can learn from it, and we often dismiss it and we forget about it. We grow up and we've gone through this, we've read these books, and we just forget these golden life lessons along the way, and we end up where we don't want to be, and we're frustrated. But I mean, life is actually quite simple if we just whittle it down. If you don't know what path to take, it doesn't matter which one you choose. That's just solid gold right there. So I think if we look for the simplicity, because life is complicated and there's complexity all over us. If you look for the simplicity, I think we can find a lot of clarity. And I think that brings me to my last question that we ask all of our guests. Ursula, 2024, everything you've been through, are you in the right place?
Yes. And it's so nice to actually answer that with such certainty. And yeah, maybe before I would never have said that, but I really feel now with certainty I'm exactly where I need to be.
That's wonderful. I love that answer. I love it that you can give it with certainty. And even though you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and life can change very unexpectedly, if you're comfortable with where you are, it makes life a lot easier. And just to appreciate what you've got, your son, your husband, your family, your friends around you, the job, the career that you're carving out for yourself. That's a very special place to be.
Yes, I really agree. And having now seen all the different journeys and different phases in my life where I've been, where I maybe couldn't answer that so clearly or couldn't see the gratitude. Like I said, especially when I came back from Rio Olympics, I can't say that gratitude was a big practice I was feeling at the time. But now, time is a wonderful healer, and reflection and some deep work there, and now having that gratitude in place for all the things that have happened, where you are, what you're still going to achieve, what you've learned, what you've taken from your life, and then how you can design it forward.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you talk at our upcoming Clara Business Network event. I'm sure it's going to go down really well. It's literally the day before the Olympics starts. Really looking forward to 2024 Olympics. Hope Team South Africa is going to do really well. I want to encourage everyone to watch the rowing, especially this year, see what it's about. I know everyone loves the track and field and the 100-meter men's final and all that stuff, but there's no excuse. Paris is pretty much on the same timeline as us, so we can watch it in the afternoon or late afternoons or early mornings. Ursula, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being so open and honest and responding so well to the questions. I encourage everyone, again, also follow Ursula on social media, LinkedIn. You've got a wonderful website as well, which which encapsulates all of your highs and lows and the medals and the wins and everything like that. So Ursula, thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, thank you, John, for the thoughtful questions. And what a magic way to spend a couple of hours, is to have a conversation like this.
Ursula, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time at the right place.